Welcome, everyone. My name is Kristen, and I'm on the Devoted Health Marketing team. I want to welcome you to today's talk and Q&A, How to Safely Get Groceries in Texas. This virtual class is part of our new weekly series. Next Thursday, we'll be talking more about telehealth, what it is, and how you can do your doctor's visits over the phone or through video chat. You can find our schedule at www.devoted.com/coronavirus/webinars. Today, we're very fortunate to be joined by two members of our community resources team, Charles Prince and Sam Clark. Charles and Sam are part of our new coronavirus team we put together. They find places and organizations that can help with food needs and delivery. Then they share those with our members. For today's session, they'll be sharing tips on how you can safely get groceries. Then they'll be taking questions. If you've joined us for one of our other coronavirus webinars, this will be a very similar format with plenty of time to ask your questions. Now, before we begin, let's go over a few notes on how to best participate in today's event. First and most important, for your privacy, please do not share any personal health information when you ask your questions. If you have specific health questions about your personal situation, please call our guides at 1-800-DEVOTED-TTY-711. That's 1-800-338-6833. If you think you're exhibiting symptoms of the coronavirus, we recommend calling your primary care doctor as soon as possible. Now, if you want to ask questions, there's two ways to do so. If you joined us through Zoom, that's the one we posted at the top of devoted.com, click on the chat button to ask a question. A chat box will appear. Type in your question and hit enter. Be sure to include your name and phone number. In case we can't get to every question during the session, we'll call you and follow up. Feel free to start typing in your questions at any time. Now, if you're joining us from Facebook Live, you'll need to call our guides at 1-800-DEVOTED to have your questions answered directly. Please do not enter any questions into Facebook Live. One final note, since we at Devoted Health are all doing our part to stop the spread of coronavirus by working from home, our internet may be slightly spotty. We apologize in advance for any audio drop-offs. If audio is cut off, we will do our best to repeat the information. Now I'm going to hand it off to Charles and Sam to get us started.
Thank you, Kristen. And I'm really excited to be here, and I feel really honored to be working here at Devoted and alongside Charles and the rest of us here on the team, all trying to do our part to make sure that you have what you need during this time. So right now, we know the best way to stay healthy is to stay home. So balancing your need for food while avoiding crowds, it can feel really stressful. And so hopefully we leave our time together feeling more comfortable about all the different ways that you can safely get groceries in Texas. And to do that, today we're going to talk about a few things. First, some quick ways that you can secure food during this crisis. We're going to discuss local delivery options, and I'm going to walk through one example in detail. Charles is going to talk about some tips when it comes to grocery shopping, and then we'll walk through finally a resource that we've used to find some local hunger relief organizations. So if you're hoping to restock your fridge and pantry, there's still some good news. You can still eat safely, but you have to follow just a few basic guidelines. So we've broken them out into 3 here. First, the best thing you can do is ask a friend, relative, or neighbor for them to get your groceries for you and then leave it for you at your door. But we don't necessarily all have somebody to help us here. And if you don't, you can get your groceries delivered. And we'll talk about what that looks like. And finally, if you do have to go to the store, you want to limit your trips by stocking up. So the safest thing to do right now is to stay home. Delivery from local stores allows you to get your groceries without ever leaving your house. But there are a few things here that we want to point out. First, there are a lot of stores in the Houston area that offer delivery, and they do this almost exclusively online. Second, you want to make sure you plan ahead. As you can imagine, the demand is a lot higher than usual. And so sometimes it can take 2 or more days to find a slot for someone to drop your food off. So you want to make sure that you go ahead and order food maybe a little bit earlier than you would have otherwise. And finally, just keep in mind that things are changing every day. So we have a team here, me, Charles, others, to make sure that we can validate local information for you daily. But if you have questions about a store near you, don't hesitate to just give them a call. So let's talk about delivery for a second. Here's a list of stores and services in Texas that we know right now offer a delivery to our members. If you go to devoted.com, we have links for each of these stores, and that will take you right to the site where you can order your food there. But before I kind of get into an example, I want to point out one distinction that can sometimes be confusing. So we have a list here. With some of these stores, you'll do everything directly on their website. So Walmart and Kroger's, you go there, you go online, you handle everything end to end directly with Walmart. But there are other stores here, like Target, for instance, that uses a delivery service. And these are companies that maybe you've heard about called Instacart and Shipt. And they partner with a lot of different stores. There's no cost associated with opening up an Instacart account, but you do pay a delivery fee, both with Instacart and with Shipt, every time you have your food delivered. What I want to do next is walk through a really great resource that we've found some members using in the Houston area, and it's with HEB. They have a program that's dedicated just for seniors, and they started this with a company called Favor late last month. This is for anyone who's 60 or older, and what they're able to do is get delivery same day from HEB. So I talked about earlier that you have to plan ahead. With HEB, we're finding that if you make an order later that day, you're going to have some groceries delivered to your doorstep. Keep in mind it does cost $10, and all of that is given directly to your shopper. So let's talk about how you might do this. So there are two ways you can do this. The first is to call this number here, 1-833-397-0080. You can also go online. It's a long one here. It's favor-delivery.com/order-delivery/H-E.B-5. And the easiest thing for some people is just to call that number, that 1-833-397-0080. And they have someone staffing it 7 days a week from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. But because the online option can be a little bit trickier, that's what I wanted to walk through today. So to start, you're going to go to this website and you're going to enter your address. So you start typing in that bar the address for where you want your food delivered. And then as you type, you're going to see some options that pop up as suggestions for what your address might be. So you'll click on the right one. Then what's going to happen is they're going to pair you to the closest HEB that is delivering to your home. If you have an address that is outside of the delivery area, you'll see a note and it'll say something like, oops, unfortunately, we're not delivering today in your area. But what you can do with HEB in that instance is actually pick up your food so they can bring it right to your car instead of having them deliver it. So after you go ahead and add your address, what you're going to do now is you're going to just start adding to your order. And it's actually pretty simple. It's all on one page. So if you look over here on the left side of my screen, it's a little bit hard to see, but what you're going to see is you're going to see different food types. Things like meal simple, you'll see produce, you'll see breads, you'll see meats, you'll see drinks. And they're going to all show up here, and you're going to click on that little arrow. And then out is going to drop different options for you. So here you can see there's an apple, orange, strawberries, green beans. You're going to keep scrolling. And if you find something that you want to add to your cart, you're going to press that plus button right there. And then what happens is as you start to build your order, on the right side of your screen, you're going to see that there's a cart, and all of the different things are going to pull up here so that you can see in real time what it is that you've started to add together in one place. I have some bread, some peanut butter, I have some frozen fruit because I'm big into making smoothies, and an apple because my son loves apples. So you have it all here, and then when it looks right, you're going to press that checkout button down to the bottom. So let's assume you've found your order, you've pressed checked out. What happens next is you're going to have to do one or two things. You're going to have to sign up for an account if this is your first time ordering here, or you sign back in. So if this is your first time, you'll see this pop up right here. And you're going to enter some basic information like your first name, your last name, your phone number, your email address, and then you're going to press sign up. Once you do that, you're going to have to enter whichever credit card or debit card you would like to use here for your payment. And again, similar thing to what you saw before. You enter your card number, information there, and then down here at the bottom, you'll press submit. And finally, what you're going to do is you're going to have the option to add some additional information. So you put in your address in the beginning, but it didn't ask you necessarily a couple things like what is an apartment number if you have one, or is there a specific place that somebody should park when they come to your home? What you should put here in the note is where the deliverer should actually drop off your groceries. We want to make sure that they're leaving it in a place where you and your deliverer aren't necessarily in contact. So you can put it in front of my door, you can put it downstairs, just make a note so they know what to do. Then once you have all of that, you click order favor down here at the bottom. And now we wait. So what you'll see here is this page is confirmation that they've received your order. Here it says, we've received your order and are finding the perfect runner. So they're going to pair you with someone to do your grocery shopping for you. And then as things go on, you're going to see it move from received to running to picking up, which is essentially shopping, en route, which means the person has left the store, arrived, right, and pay. So a lot of questions that we've had, and whether you get your groceries from your family dropping it off or you're using HEB, there are some tips that you can do to limit your exposure to coronavirus. Before I say anything else, I want to say one thing. If you start to feel overwhelmed, go back to the basics, which is social distancing and frequent hand washing. You're going to get a lot of bang for your buck there. That said, we have some suggestions from the experts on how you can stay safe. First, like we talked about, order delivery and make sure it's contactless. Throw away those disposable bags that'll come with your groceries. Wash your vegetables with cold water. And make sure you wash your hands when you're done putting your food away. We've had a lot of members ask whether they should wipe down packaging. And there are a couple things I want to say here. First, we know the coronavirus can live on surfaces like plastic and cardboard, but at the same time, the risk of getting it that way is actually pretty low. So if you're more comfortable taking that extra precaution, it's not going to hurt. And so if you do, you can wipe everything down. You can use any regular household cleaner, even soap or water. You're going to wipe it down, and once you're done, move it to a clean section, and then wipe down the surfaces where maybe you put that plastic and packaging on. And then again, once you're done with everything, just wash your hands again. And now I'm going to hand it over to Charles, and he's going to talk about what you do if you end up having to go to the store.
Thank you, Sam. Again, I'm Charles Prince. I'm a native Houstonian, and I'm a University of Houston graduate, and it's an honor for me to share some tips with you as we go through this crisis together. The most important thing to do here is to limit your trips to the store, which means having your groceries delivered or having others do your shopping, which helps keep you safe. If you can't do delivery and need to go yourself, we recommend a few things. One, if you go to the store, purchase enough food to last for 2 or 3 weeks. 2, you don't need to go crazy and stock up for the next 6 months, but have enough groceries to prevent you from having to go again anytime soon. 3, this is especially important because every time you leave your house, you're risking exposure to catching the coronavirus. And finally, if you do end up going to the store, you may find special shopping hours, for older adults to be a good option for you. I'll talk about that a bit more here in a second. And when we look at special shopping hours, some stores have special hours when certain groups of people, like older adults, are only allowed in the store. Senior hours help you get in the first thing in the morning. And since many stores now deep clean and restock at night, you're going to be there when the stores are the cleanest and have the most items. That said, we've heard that some locations are seeing big crowds at this time, though this varies significantly by store. Please just give your local store a call before you leave to make sure that it's the safest time for you to be outside of your house. Let's talk about some options locally. All the stores you see on the left side of the screen offer senior hours every day. Stores like Dollar General, Dollar Tree, Trader Joe's, Whole Foods. The others offer senior hours on special days of the week. Stores like Aldi, Costco, Food Town, Sam's Club, Target, Walmart, Winn-Dixie. On our website, you can see the specific days and times for each of these stores and a locator for you to find the closest option if you don't know it already. Now, most stores aren't asking for IDs, but setting expectations that the customers are going to be 60, 65 or older, and you're welcome during that first hour of operation. But it's always safe to bring an ID just in case. Now, let's talk about some questions people have had about how to stay safe while shopping. Again, you want to limit your trips so you avoid being around others. Shop alone if you can. Fewer people in stores make social distancing a lot easier. Use wipes. You can use your own wipes, or sometimes you'll see them when you first enter a store to disinfect the handle of the cart or basket. Bring hand sanitizer with you and use it after contact with frequently touched surfaces, like those self-checkout screens you see now. Touch as few things as possible in the store. And remember to keep your cell phone in your pocket or your purse because it's full of germs. So you might ask, what do I do when I get home? The same great tips that Sam just went over apply here too. You want to throw away your disposable bags. You want to wash your vegetables with cold water, no bleach or soap or other chemicals. You want to make sure you wash your hands thoroughly when you're done putting away your food. And then wipe down packaging and counters if you want to take an extra precaution. Let's talk about how you go about finding a local food pantry. And in the Houston area, we often utilize the Houston Food Bank. If you qualify for SNAP, and SNAP is simply Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Programs. If you qualify for SNAP and other assistance programs, finding food during this time can be especially stressful. Here are some of the resources that can help make that process a little easier. I wanted to talk about a trusted resource, as I mentioned before, the Houston Food Bank, and two options for using them during this time. You can simply call 832-369-9390. That's 832-369-9390. You can go to www.houstonfoodbank.org/find-help. You're going to click to find a food pantry. You simply type in your home address. You choose which days you're available to pick up or receive your food. You can choose preferences, for example, mobile. Click on the pins to learn more about the options near you. Call the numbers provided to talk to the pantries directly. Again, it's been an honor for Sam and I to share this information with you today. So we're going to hand it over to Kristen to kick off the question and answer part of our time together.
Thank you so much, Charles and Sam. And as a reminder to everybody watching and listening, please don't hesitate to ask your questions in the chat on Zoom. And as a reminder to our attendees on Facebook Live, please do not enter your questions in the chat on there. If you have questions, please give us a call at 1-800-DEVOTED. So our first question is it really necessary to wipe down my groceries? And if so, how thorough do I need to be?
Yeah, Kristen, I've had this question asked a lot, also from my family members. And so I think it's one that comes up for a lot of us. So I'll say a couple things here. We know that the coronavirus can live on surfaces. So plastic and cardboard, for instance, for a day or several days. But At the same time, the risk of getting coronavirus that way by touching something like a pasta box is really low. So at the end of the day, I think it's up to you, but there's no harm in wiping things down. So if you do, any household cleaner will do. So even soap and water, you don't need Clorox, you don't need bleach. And you can just wipe it down because the virus is pretty sensitive. And again, when you're done, just make sure that you wash your hands again.
Okay, great. So for those of us who have been going out to the stores, we've seen a lot of people wearing gloves while shopping. Are those necessary to wear?
Mm. Yeah, when I've done grocery shopping for my family, I've worn gloves. And the reason gloves is helpful is because if you do leave your house, it just reduces the amount of times that you have to wash your hands. But that said, if you're wearing gloves, you still don't want to be touching your face. You still don't want to be touching all the things around you. So again, make sure you take off your gloves and then just wash your hands as thoroughly as you can.
Okay, so this next question is about food pantries. What are the hours of food pantries, and when can food be picked up at them?
Good question. Some of the local food pantries have weekly pickups available and others monthly pickups only. So what we advise is to search the Houston Food Bank, and then you'll see where they include the pantry address, the date for pickup, and the time as well. So that should help you.
Okay, so and a follow-up question to that: does this work the same for my smartphone?
Yes, it absolutely does. However, when entering the link or web address on your phone, make sure you want to include it just as you're going to see it. You want to include the words like adding slash COVID-19 at the end.
Okay, so another question about groceries being delivered. Are there any delivery fees for groceries?
Yeah, so it varies, Kristen. So depending on where you go, there are some stores that do offer free delivery and others charge a small fee, like $5 to $10, like the HEB example that I brought up earlier. So it does vary, unfortunately, by store.
Okay, another question about food pantries. Do you need to pay for the food picked up at food pantries?
Hey, I have good news. No, that food is completely free. These organizations receive donations of goods to distribute to the community through the food pantries. Sometimes there are hot meals available, but for the most part, it's a bag of groceries.
Great. So this last question, and if anybody has any questions, please feel free to type them in. We still have time to answer any and all questions. But this actually pertains to a topic that we talked about yesterday in our Thursday webinar about chronic illnesses. So this one person says, "I have a chronic illness. Which one of the services you talked about would be best for me? Are there any other precautions I need to take?"
Yeah, that's a great one. So there are a few options available here for our devoted Prime Plan members who have recently been diagnosed with a chronic illness. We have services available to provide meals that are tailored specifically for those nutritional needs. If you aren't a Prime Plan member and you don't qualify, there are still some options. So you can have paid for options like mom's meals. And then some also organizations like Meals on Wheels are really familiar with creating plans that are based on different nutritional requirements. But at the end of the day, if you're going to go ahead and use any of the food banks that we talked about through Houston Food Bank, like Charles discussed, just mentioning it to them and they'll be able to probably help tailor what it is that they offer to you based on the food that you need.
Okay, great. So actually, while you were speaking, we got another question from the audience. So this one person is concerned about signing on devices at self checkouts and how the germs, how many germs are on self checkout, sign out units. Is there any solution for that?
I would encourage you to order online. But I completely agree. I think the best thing you could do if you do go to a store is to make sure that you wipe it down. If you have gloves, use those because once you leave self checkout, you can take them off and then you'd wash your hands when you get home.
Oh, actually, I think I misunderstood the question. I think it's they're required to sign a device whenever they are receiving the groceries.
Okay, so if somebody were to come to your car, for instance, and drop off food in your trunk, or come to your home to drop off food, if I'm hearing you correctly, I think, Kristen, that's the question there.
Yeah, I think it's whenever they're delivering to the home, they are required to sign off on the purchases whenever they come to the door.
Yeah. So I've heard this actually in some instances where people have had food delivered from a local restaurant, for instance. And what I've done is in those circumstances, I've actually called the restaurant ahead of time and I've made sure that I could pay over the phone. So I've given my credit card information when I'm making the order over the phone. And I've requested not to do any signing, that they do it on my behalf, and then they give a tip in addition to that. So local restaurants I have found to be really good at that. With things like HEB and things where you can get delivery and order online, you shouldn't have to sign at all.
Okay, great. And to the member who asked that question, if we didn't fully answer your question, we apologize. We can follow up with you after this presentation for further clarification. Um, well, that actually brings us to the end of the questions. So I just want to say thank you so much, Mary and Charles. Sorry, not Mary and Charles, Sam and Charles, and thank you to everyone who joined and asked such great questions. If you have any questions that you come up with after viewing this, please feel free to give us a call at 1-800-DEVOTED. That's 1-800-338-6833. Thanks again for joining us, and please stay safe.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.